Sandy Rees is a CFRE. She's joining us today from East Tennessee. She's a native Tennessean. I met Sandy, oh my gosh, 15 years ago. We had booths next to each other at some kind of volunteer fair when I was living in Knoxville. And she said, hey, do you want to come to this thing called AFP with me? I was like, sure. I didn't know what it was. And went, and I joined, and I've been a member ever since. So I'm always grateful to Sandy for introducing me to this amazing organization. A couple of months ago, someone forwarded Sandy's blog to me about fundraisers can be introverts. Introverts can be great fundraisers. I said, Sandy, can you do a presentation on this? She's like, yeah, I need to create it. So she took that blog post, has made an amazing presentation for us today, and I'm really looking forward to it. And we are so grateful for you for doing that for us and for driving from East Tennessee today. Go Vols.
I know, right?
Oh, so
awesome. Yeah, that's what I love about Amanda. She understands that in East Tennessee, people say, cut me, I bleed orange. Like, the town is insane. Some of you guys know this, right? She asked me, how are things in Knoxville? I said, well, the Vols are winning. It's all good. All right, enough about that. How y'all doing?
Good.
Awesome. So a couple of things you need to know. I will make you play with me. Just know that up front. Second thing you need to know is I'm an introvert. I know, right? Some of y'all going, don't believe it. No, I'm a total introvert. The ride home from here will be total silence. No radio, no nothing, quiet. Gotta have it. How many of you consider yourself introverts? Okay, good. Those of you who think you're an extrovert, raise your hand. Okay, wow, a whole bunch of you. You know, it's interesting. I started doing some research on this back in the spring when I wrote that article because I had in my head what I thought that meant to be an introvert. Think about what we normally think about as introverts. We think about people who are quiet, right? What else? Shy. What else? Reclusive. Antisocial. Okay, here's what it really means to be an introvert or an extrovert. It's not about your behavior, it's about where you get your energy. Okay? Being an introvert means you recharge yourself with the quiet time. Doesn't that make sense? Being an extrovert means you recharge yourself being around people. That's all that means. Okay? So if you're an introvert and then on top of that you are shy, that's complicated. Or if you're an introvert and you have self-esteem issues and you worry about what your clothes look like when you go out, that's complicated too. So it's really about where you refuel yourself. So my fellow introverts, I can go and be out all day, but I gotta have quiet time in the evenings, like conferences. How many of you go to conferences? Which I love you're talking about the AFP conference. I will put my plug in for that. It is fantastic. Everybody needs to go at least once. And by the way, San Francisco is a very cool town. Very cool town. There's a lot to see and do there. I would go to conferences, and at the end of the day, I'm like, I gotta get away from the people for a little while. I need quiet. I need to go sit in my room. And I like to go back through my notes from the day and let things kind of settle. And inevitably, I would room with somebody who's like, let's party! How many of you know Gail Perry? From over in Raleigh. Gail and I would wind up rooming together at conferences a lot, and she'd be like, come on, let's go to the bar! And I'm like, you don't. I'll see you later. That's what happens when you put an introvert and an extrovert together. So, can you be a successful fundraiser and be an introvert?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I'm living proof. Living proof that it can be done, that you can work for a nonprofit, raise money, and still be an introvert. You can also be shy and be a fundraiser. You can be outgoing and be a fundraiser. What I find is sometimes it's about the labels that we put on ourselves, and it turns into an excuse. We let ourselves off the hook like, well, I'm such an introvert, I don't want to do that big gala kind of event. Or the excuse may look like, well, you know, all our supporters, they don't like all that fancy, loud kind of stuff. excuses. Does that make sense? Say yes if that makes sense.
Yes.
See, I told you I'll make you play this. All right, this was working. I guess turn it back on. It'll work. Okay. So, if you have ever felt nervous, uncomfortable, shy, or awkward when raising money, you might be an introvert, or you might just need some more skills. Just saying. But we're going to talk about some of how this looks today and what is really about the introvertedness and what might be something else that's going on for you. Here's why this is a problem. Success has a certain look to it. When you think about ads you see on TV, think about magazine ads. What do we normally see as success?
Material manifestation.
Yeah, you see a lot of material stuff. You see people who are like, they're smiling, they're happy, they're surrounded by other people. And for us introverts, is that our definition of success? That's not really what we want, right? We're like, can I just go home with a good book? Maybe a glass of Merlot? So one of the things we have to do is stop buying into other people's definition of success. It doesn't serve us. Sometimes we just try to wear the wrong shoes. Have you ever done that? Is it just me? My daughter and I switch shoes back and forth quite a lot. I live on a farm. We have horses. There are various pairs of muck boots in the garage, and sometimes I'm like, well, these are not mine. They don't fit right. So sometimes as introverts, we think we're supposed to be out. We're supposed to be all, hey, life's a party. Life's good. Let me tell you about my organization. Give us money. We think that's how it's supposed to be, and it's like wearing the wrong shoes. It doesn't feel good. Has anybody ever done that? Have you ever shown up at a party, networking events are probably the worst. I remember doing this early on. I would go to like the chamber thing, and I'm in the car, I'm like giving myself pep talk. Can't stand in the corner, Gotta go talk to people, must meet people. Anybody else ever done that? And you get in there and you go over and go, hi, I'm Sandy, okay, gotta go. Because it's uncomfortable, we don't like it. The truth is, we've just not really learned how to work a room in a way that feels comfortable to us. Is there a way to go meet people and be an introvert and successfully network? Yes, there is. Do you have to work the room and meet everybody in the room? No. Is it okay to set a goal for yourself? Like, I just want to have a meaningful conversation with 3 people. I want to meet 3 people, have a meaningful conversation. Is that a reasonable goal? Sure it is. Sure it is. Well, gosh, what just happened here? All right, here we go. All right, sometimes we sound like a used car salesman because we get it in our head that that's what fundraising looks like. It's supposed to be all, give to my organization. We're a great organization. Is that the best way to go ask for money? No. Alex, what's a better way to ask for money?
Find yourself opposite somebody and figure out a way to have them talk and you listen.
Oh, that's a good idea. Listen more than you talk. Being authentic also works. Speaking from your...
Can I get a piece of candy?
You know, I don't have candy today.
Oh, no!
Yeah, I brought the toys, but not the candy. I know I'm falling down. He's going to mark this day down, and he'll never let me forget. But so...
I have chocolate. I can see you.
No, it's okay. You're good. You're good. She's going to give me candy. It's all good. So, probably got a Tic Tac in my purse, something like that. So, you want to listen more than you talk. You want to be authentic. You want to have those conversations that are meaningful. Talk from your heart. How many of you are passionate about the organizations that you serve? Yeah? To me, that was always the easiest thing to do. When I got all in my head and I would get scared about talking to somebody, if I could just drop 18 inches and get into my heart and talk about why the work this organization does matters, all the fear went away. But, so here's a side tip to that. When you are all worried about you, you tend to be in your head. when you focus more on the organization and who you're serving, you will work from your heart. It's a huge difference. Huge difference. All right, so good news is there is a way that you can play to your strengths, choose the right strategies, make an ask, get the funding you need while still feeling real and comfortable in your own skin. Absolutely can be done. So this is me. Somebody's asking about the dog. That's one of my dogs. That's Lucy. She's a nut. We know, right?
We spent the year with her. She played together.
Yeah, Mandy's dog and my dog are very similar in size and color and everything. This dog smiles all the time. Her whole outlook on life, and I tell her this is her song. What are we doing today? Like, this is the dog's outlook. She's awesome. Just smile all the time. Every now and again I can get her to stop and she'll look at me and then she just pop right back into the smile. Happy dog, happy dog. So live on a farm. I'm a fundraising coach, trainer, author. I want to tell you a little bit about my story. I mentioned that I am an introvert, although I'm going to get into that in just a minute, a different kind of introvert. Here's what you need to know. I was not born knowing how to raise money. I don't remember signing up for fundraising at Career Day even. Any of you? Awesome haircut, right? That sort of 70s split thing going on, yeah? You younger ones are going like, what? Where I learned fundraising was at the food bank in Knoxville. My very first job in nonprofit was at Knox Area Rescue Ministries. You probably remember them. That's the homeless shelter there in the area. I was there for about a year and then transitioned over to the food bank. And I was in a fantastic situation where my director said, here's how much we need to raise. Good luck. See you later. And she got out of my way, which was awesome. Because then I was able to try some things and go like, well, let's try this. Well, what if this works? And then I looked at what the food bank in Nashville was doing, because they were a couple of steps bigger than us. And I would go over and talk to them, and I would bring back ideas and try them. I threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall for a couple of years. You know what I mean? I tried a lot of stuff. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. I learned how to refine it. And what I wound up doing was keeping the stuff that was working, getting rid of the stuff that didn't. And so today, that's a lot of what I teach my clients is let's look at how do you really laser in on what's working for you, and let me show you a shortcut, and let's take a little faster route on this so you don't have to do that whole spaghetti toss like I did. So I love this graphic. And all the while I did all that, introvert learning to be comfortable in my own skin. Introvert learning that, I really have this shyness and I got some other things going on that's making this really complicated. But learned how to raise a lot of money. As a matter of fact, so my company's called Get Fully Funded, and where I came up with that was while I was at the food bank, I had to stop raising money for about 3 programs because I raised more than the program staff could spend. Cool? Woohoo, right? Oh my gosh. It was awesome. So early on, I had a coach that said, what's the biggest thing that you want for the organizations that you help? And I said, that. I want them to have that same experience of, okay, we're going to let off the gas on this now because we have everything that we can spend. Let's go to the next thing. It's a completely fully funded budget. It was the most fun thing ever to me. Our operations manager, he would come into my office and sit down, and I knew what was coming. He was getting ready to tell me he needed money for something. He'd a piece of candy, because even back then I always had candy on my desk. And he'd tell me what he needed. And half the time I'd be like, well, what is that? Because we had a warehouse like Sam's Club, right? Forklifts. So one day he comes in and he goes, I need a slip sheet installer. I'm like, well, what the hell is that? And how is it going to help us feed more people? Because that's what I need to know. There was never anything they needed that I couldn't raise the money for. Nothing. Whatever it was, we got. It was awesome. That sound cool?
Yes.
Say woohoo! Woo! I know, right? All while being an introvert, trying to figure all this stuff out. What I love about this is all these different things we think an introvert really means, and really it's about people who are energized by the alone time. And get that energy from the quiet time. Love this. Who can relate to this? Being an introvert, I love Facebook. It allows me to socialize without having to actually talk to anybody. No, right? How many of you have friends that you keep up with on Facebook? And then you see them in real life and it's weird. Because you feel like you've been watching their pictures of their vacation and their kids, and you feel like you really had some interaction, and then you see them in person and you're like, oh, I haven't really seen you in like 18 months, so how are things?
You look good online.
I know, right? It's weird. It's this false sense of reality. This is another really fun one. Who can relate to this one? I'm gonna go out. I'm having fun, right? I like people. Okay, been fun. Time to go. One more drink. Okay, now it's really time to go. Can I leave now? That's our thing as introverts. You know, it's like, well, okay, I'll go out for a little while, and we, you know, kind of psych ourselves up, and we get out, and we're like, yeah, I need to go home now. Right? Isn't it funny? So here we are, introverts. Typically, we have fewer relationships, fewer friends, but they're much deeper relationships as opposed to extroverts tend to, and these are broad, sweeping generalizations. Extroverts tend to have lots of friends, do a lot of socializing. This was a huge issue for me when I was at the food bank, because here I'm the development director, big introvert, my ED, off the charts extrovert. We had a lot of interesting conversations, let me just say. Because her idea of a good time, my idea of a good time were really different. Her idea of what our donors would like and my idea of what our donors were like were real different. So that was really interesting, learning to work together on some of that. Any of that surprise you? No. Not really? And again, these are some generalizations that introverts tend to be a little quieter and reserved, but we don't have to be. I mean, I'm proof that I can get out and go and speak at events and do conferences and stuff. Total introvert. Doesn't mean I won't have fun and tell jokes and make you laugh. Just means that there will be no radio on the way home. All right, so this is interesting. 30% of the population is introverted. That's a pretty good chunk of our population who we're a little more introspective. We like our quiet time. 68% are what's called ambiverts. Anybody know what that means?
Ambivalent.
Ambivalent, not quite. Okay, I'm not sure how well you can see this, but this is a sort of a chart of the way that there are distinctions from 100% extrovert to 100% introvert. So I'm not 100% introvert. I'm somewhere in the middle. I can be an extrovert when I need to, when the situation calls for it. In my natural state, I'm going to be introvert. So it's almost like we can stretch a little bit. We can do this when we need to. And I bet some of you are like that. You know, you've got that lunch with the donors, and so we like, you know, we put on the conversationalist hat, and all of a sudden we show up and we go, hey, how you doing? That's a learned skill, by the way. It is. It's like being on. You like get out of the car and, okay, I'm ready to ask questions, ready to, you know, talk to people. You don't have to be the life of the party necessarily, but you do have to have a few questions in your back pocket that when you run across that big donor, you have something to say and you don't feel uncomfortable. Really, to me, that's the worst thing. Being in a room full of people and feeling awkward. That flames up my introvert tendency and makes me want to run for the door real fast. Anybody else feel that way? Yeah. So if you have those questions, and it's really not a big deal, you can ask questions like, so tell me about your first experience with our organization. What do you like best about our organization? You just start asking them open-ended questions, get them to talk, and then to Alex's point, listen. Get them to talk, and then you don't have to do anything but stand there and smile. You can do that, right? Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that the world, as it develops for all of us from children on, is screaming, you need to be an extrovert? And so
Get
that's
out
how
there
we,
and make
that's how
friends.
we, yeah, that's how we all learn this constructive personality.
Yes. Isn't it interesting? To me, there's so much about this that's really interesting. So I grew up in a family where my mother always told me, be a good girl, be quiet, children should be seen and not heard. So I think my tendency was to be an introvert, and my mother squished me down. So there was just no opportunity. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm going to try out for the play, and I get the lead, and I'm like, wait, how did this happen? I should not be doing that. For all the things, you know, that the conditioning of life. But it's interesting, it does impact us. We grow up believing things. We have these beliefs that show up about how life is supposed to be, or how we're supposed to be, or how other people are supposed to be. And it frames how we operate. It's
Or what you've been told about yourself
Yes.
as a child. And then
Yes.
as an adult, I still think of myself in that way. And if I make a comment, people on Facebook, they'll say, what? And I'm like, no, this is a belief. Hey,
Yeah.
cut it out, because it's what I believe.
Yeah.
It's what I was told. So
Yeah, yeah,
therefore it was true.
Yeah. So we could do a whole other session on mindset and that kind of junk, and how all the stuff that we're told when we were little, it still shapes and impacts our behavior now. I'm doing a 3-day workshop next week in Nashville, and we're doing one whole piece on mindset and how it impacts our ability to raise money, what we believe about money, and what we think about rich people. Fascinating stuff. I have a psychologist that's going to help me present that. It's fascinating stuff, because it does. If you believe that you're shy and that rich people are greedy, how easy is it going to be for you to ask for money? It's going to be tough, isn't it? Like some of y'all are going like, ew, you're right. Okay. All right, so this is interesting. If you go to this website, it's called lonerwolf.com. There is a quiz there that you can take, and it will tell you where you fall on this ambivert scale. It's fascinating, free. So if you're curious, go take it. I landed, let's see, mine was over about 80 points. So I'm an extroverted ambivert, which means, yeah, I can make nice and be the life of the party. I can keep the conversation going. I can stretch up that far. Maybe not my natural state, but I can do it. And I've also developed those skills over the years and gotten better at it. When I first started, like 15, 20 years ago, oh, hell no. No way, too shy, like crumble and die in the floor. Ain't gonna happen. So some of that's just been a learned skill of finding ways to keep the conversation going. Is that helpful or interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Really recommend you go, just take that little test. It's
What's
free.
the website again?
Lonerwolf.com. LONERWOLF. Lonerwolf.com. So here's some other things I found in my research that I thought was fascinating. Albert Einstein was an introvert. Interesting, right? Gandhi, introvert. Rosa Parks, introvert. J.K. Rowling, introvert. Tom Hanks, introvert. I know, right? Right? Doesn't mean he's shy. What does it mean?
He likes his loner.
He likes his alone time. So what do you suppose it's like on a set with him when they're shooting a movie? When they get done with the scene, what do you think he does? He probably does this. Later. Like just gotta have a moment, gotta have some quiet time. I thought that was fascinating. Any of y'all seen the new movie, Sully?
Yes, it's awesome.
Isn't it?
Where are you from?
Sully. The new movie he just shot. Okay, here's what I think is very interesting. When you start thinking of yourself, where you fall, are you an introvert, extrovert, ambivert, and the different kinds of things that you can do as fundraising, and what might lend itself to your level of comfort and your skill set better than others. One of the things that I think that we really all get hung up on is that we think when we see somebody else doing fundraising in a certain way that we're supposed to do it that way too. Or because now we're a fundraiser, we need to be able to go out and ask somebody face to face for $1 million, even if we've never been trained, we have no idea what that looks like, we don't know what to say. Somehow we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get this stuff right before we realize, well, we might need some training or a good coach or a consultant. We might need some support. We might need to practice a little bit. And so one of the things that's interesting is you can look at different ways that you can do fundraising. For example, one-to-one fundraising, if you're going to do it from your desk. By the way, when I was at the food bank, I was the queen of raising money without getting out of my chair. I'm telling you, I raised a ton of money. I told you, I completely raised everything. It was kind of funny coming from the rescue mission. We were raising the better part of $4 million through the mail, direct mail. It was, I'd never seen anything like it. So I get to the food bank and I'm going like, we should be targeting the same people. Like people who give to homelessness are probably going to give to hunger as well. Why are we not doing direct mail? Well, we just never have, or we're changing that right now. So we put a direct mail program in place, and I got that ramped up to where I was raising hundreds of thousands of dollars through the mail. It was fun. I remember we would start doing acquisition in mid-October, and I would go to my AFP meeting like October, November, and I'd go, how you guys doing? I'm tired. And they'd be like, what? I'd say, how many days behind are you? Everybody go, what? So nobody else was doing direct mail like that. We would be like 2 days behind, just trying to get everything entered. There were 3 of us on my team. It took all 3 of us all day, every day, just to do the gift entry. It was crazy fun. That was so much fun. It was so much fun. So that was all one-to-one from my desk. Didn't get out of my chair to do any of that. You can also do grants. I got really, really good at grants too. Well, I was raising a bunch of money through grants. Monthly giving. Started a monthly giving program. My finance guy laughed at me when I did that. A year later, I laughed at him. A year later, I had 110 people giving monthly, and it was a $50,000 revenue stream. I said, now who's laughing? He's up. That's pretty fun. These days, you can do one-to-many from your desk, like through social media, Giving Tuesday, online giving, text to give, newsletters, all kinds of stuff you can do from your desk. But let me ask you, is that the best way to raise the biggest amount of money?
No.
Probably not. Is that an important piece of fundraising? I think so. But you're going to have to get face-to-face at some point if you want to raise the big bucks. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Yeah, you have to. You do have to. If you need training, support, whatever, do that. But you do need to do that. So you can do one-to-one with major gifts, planned giving, personal asks, one-to-many with events. Any of you using the Benavon model for ask events? You are? It's pretty cool, right? You get a whole bunch of people in a room and you ask all at the same time and everybody gives right there, right? I have several clients doing that and they're raising money hand over fist. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. You may want to ask her later about that. It's a particular model for fundraising, gathering just a bunch of people in the room, and there's a very specific formula for it and a way that you ask, and it works. How much do you guys raise with yours?
Usually, this is my first year actually doing
Mhm.
membership, but
That's
we
okay.
raised, I think, almost 275 last year.
Sweet. $275,000 in probably an hour, lunch, breakfast, something like that. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I got 2 different groups that are doing like 150. Yeah, it's very cool. All right, does this make sense to you? Here's a way to think about fundraising as I'm going to do it from my desk, or I'm going to get face-to-face, or it's one-on-one, or it's one-to-many. We tend to do the one-to-many from our desk because that just, we don't have to actually talk to anybody. It seems simpler somehow. All right, let's go to 4 steps for successful fundraising for introverts. What we're going to have to do here a little bit is stretch. Stretch out just a little bit. I did bring a toy. Got my blue slinky here. I'm going to show you some more about that in a minute. Stretch your thinking a little. All right, so strategies are the first thing. Remember I said earlier that sometimes we look around at what other people are doing and we think we're supposed to do it that way too? Did your mother ever say to you, if all your friends jump off a cliff, are you going to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same kind of concept, right? Sometimes we can be lemmings and we just follow along instead of saying, wait a minute, what are the right strategies for my organization based on what our strengths are as an organization, and what are the right strategies for what my personal strengths are? And it may be different than what somebody else is doing. Most of us don't hit the time out long enough to really think through that and figure out what those are. And what I find is when you can do that, you can be so much more comfortable in your own skin when it comes to raising money. What doesn't work is doing everything. I tried that one year. You know, like you go to a conference and you hear all these breakout speakers and you're like, I'm going to implement that, and I'm doing that, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you wind up doing everything, but going that deep into everything. When you go an inch deep and a mile wide, how effective is that?
Not very.
Not very, really. So much better to pick something and go deep with it and make it super successful. Like if you're going to do monthly giving, do monthly giving. Get it ramped up, raise all you can from it, and then go to the next thing. Don't yeah, we've got monthly giving. And I have seen people do this. Oh yeah, we have a monthly giving program. It's on their website, and they're not asking anybody to join it at all through the year. And then they don't understand why they have no monthly donors. Big surprise, right? Yeah. Shoulding, do you know what that means? We all should on ourselves all the time. Well, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. That doesn't work either. Not such a hot strategy. The ostrich approach. I'm going to just, this whole crowdfunding thing has come on the scene. I don't understand it. I don't like technology. And I stick my head in the sand until it passes by. Some of us do that. Frankly, it's overwhelming sometimes. Who gets overwhelmed because there's something new all the time for raising money, right? I can't keep up with all of it. I know you guys can't. It's something new all the time. Yeah, that's exhausting. That's why I think it's so much better to choose the things that support you and play to your strengths, because it just makes everything easier. So let's do an exercise. You have a pen, piece of paper? Oh, didn't know you were going to have to work at this meeting, did you? No, I usually have crayons now.
The last point was this was all the whenever you put off the total tomorrow, will eventually get done by itself.
It'll work itself out, right? Okay, when you get your pen and your paper, draw this grid, just a 4-box grid. I'm going to walk you through what this is and let you fill it in as we go. I think you're going to enjoy this. I use this exercise a lot. People usually really like it. Okay, in the upper left-hand corner, it says unique brilliance. Let me explain what that is, and when you get what that is for you, write it down in that box. Unique brilliance is something that everybody has. It's one thing that comes so naturally to you, you don't even recognize that you're super good at it. You may think of it as your calling. It may be your gift. It's something that when you're doing it, you get into the flow and time just stops. You have so much fun doing it, you would do it all day long for free if you could. Other people usually compliment you on it. It may be that your unique brilliance is that you are an amazing listener. And people say to you, when they talk to you, they'll say, I feel so much better, thank you for listening. Others of you, you may have amazing people skills. Like you can make friends with anybody, anywhere, anytime. You are really good at that. Some of you may be really good at telling stories, or maybe you're a fantastic writer. Whatever your unique brilliance is probably something that helped to get you hired into the job where you are. Has anybody got an inkling yet of what theirs is? A couple of you do? Write it down. Put it in that box. You have to think about it a little bit, that's okay. A lot of times it's hard for people to figure it out because you discount it. It comes so easily to you, you think it comes easily to everybody, and it doesn't. At all. All right, go to the box on the right, excellence. Here you want to write down things you are excellent at. You may be an excellent communicator, excellent writer. Again, the people skills, the listening, the solving puzzles, solving problems, seeing big picture. Whatever those things are for you, put them there. Some of your excellence activities may be a little more obscure. When I worked at the food bank, I was excellent at changing the toner in the coffee. That's probably why everybody came to my office when it was empty. And I'd be like, is your arm broke? Go fix it. I don't know how. The instructions are on the box. You can do this. I was excellent, so I got to do it. I am also excellent at stuffing envelopes. I can fold and stuff letters faster than anybody I know. Excellent. We developed bizarre little skills over the years, didn't we? All right, down at the bottom left, competence. Down here you put things that you can do, but you're going to complain about it while you do it. Yeah, so Cindy says stuffing envelopes goes in her competence. For me, again, food bank, you know how sometimes you're in a small organization, you have to do a lot of stuff because somebody's got to do it? I remember hauling off the recycling because somebody had to do it. I also found myself in charge of the phone system. What sense that made, I don't know. But when we hired somebody new, I had to set up their voicemail, and I never remembered how to do it. And I always had to get the book out, and I would moan and groan and piss and complain and whine the whole time, and then I would get it done, and off we went. So, didn't like doing it, took me forever, took me away from the other stuff I needed to be doing. That was definitely a competence activity for me. You guys probably have some of those too, right? You can do it, but you don't like to. What do you think goes in the incompetence box? All those things that you ain't got no business doing.
Attention to detail.
As for years, it was like, do not let me touch the accounting. Just no. No. I'm much better at it now, but whew. Debits and credits, no. None of that. All right, so do you have something in every box now? Okay, here's what I want you to do. Take your pen, pencil, whatever. Darken that line that goes right through the middle from left to right. It's going to separate that into an upper half and a lower half. See that? What you need to do is work above the line. You need to get rid of everything that's below the line for you. Hallelujah? Woo! Yeah, delegate it, automate it, dump it, find a way, outsource it. Whatever you need to do, get rid of that stuff. That's the stuff that is dragging you down. It is filling up your day with nonsense. It is keeping you from doing the stuff that you are really hot at. If stuff that's above the line for you is interfacing with people, building relationships, writing, then you need to be doing those things because that's what's going to raise more money for your organization. You've got to find a way. Now I know, is anybody like the only person in their whole organization? You are? So for a couple of you, this is going to be interesting, the founders in the room. Not surprised that it's just because of where you are with your organization. So you're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to find a way. For everybody, you can get volunteers. I promise you there is a volunteer out there who will do whatever it is that's below the line for you. Promise. Now I remember, see how many of you this resonates with. Good Southern girl, I can't ask anybody to do something I wouldn't do myself. That don't seem right. And so I resisted that for a long time until I learned one day that my assistant, all the stuff that was below the line for me was above the line for her. And she liked doing it. And I was actually just keeping her from having fun by not delegating that stuff to her. I understand it now. I loaded her up. I'm like, have fun. Knock yourself out. Does that make sense? This is a great exercise to do with your team. You can do this exercise with your board, which is very interesting to find out what the unique brilliance is on your board. Fascinating little exercise. Steal it. Use it. Who likes this one? Did you learn something about yourself? Fascinating, isn't it? All right, so when you know your strengths, own them, work in them. Let's talk about stretching. How many of you have ever had somebody, maybe it was your mom, maybe somebody else, goes, well, you just need to be more fill in the blank. You just need to be more outgoing. Right? Okay. So we looked at the chart earlier about extroverts to introverts and see that there's an ambivert, and really we can slide somewhere along that chart. And you can move along that chart depending on how you feel during the day too. go a little more introverted. When I'm sick, I'm way more introverted. I'm like, no people. Must have quiet time. That sort of thing. So there is such a thing as stretching. And I learned this for myself, especially with that whole being a conversationalist thing. Learned how to stretch to be comfortable networking and in a room, especially if it was an event for my organization, there were donors, and I knew I needed to go make nice with the donors, right? So that was a skill. That required me to stretch a little bit. Okay? Now let me show you something. This is a pretty cool slinky, right? This is a pretty cool slinky, right? Yeah, awesome, thank you. Gee. Is it the terracing? All right, so you hold that in. This slinky actually has some pretty good stretch to it. So I'm not able to stretch the slinky by myself to the whole length. I got Amanda to help me up here. And sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you need a coach, you need a mentor, you need somebody to help you reframe some thinking or some beliefs or whatever so you can stretch. Now, look at this. I'm getting some pretty good length with this. This is pretty cool, right? How much further can I go?
Twice as far.
Twice as far? Is there a point at which I have stretched too far? What happens when I stretch too far?
It'll never go back.
Right? It ain't going to go back like it was. Can it break? Can it bend out of shape? If I let go, is this going to pop her in the head?
Let's see.
I'm not doing that to her. She's my friend. Okay, interesting that we stretched it, and it did. It's got more space in it now than it did, right? So how do you manage your stretch? You can stretch yourself, whether you're an introvert, extrovert, or whatever. You can stretch yourself into some new skills. But just like a runner, you may want to take and kind of stretch out your legs before you start running. And you may not stretch as far the first day as you might on the 10th day or the 100th day. Does that make sense? Yeah. So stretching is a good thing. We got to get out of our chair sometimes. That was a big day for me when I realized that was not going to raise all the money we needed while I was in my chair. And I had to get out of my chair. Yeah. That was a tough day for me. But I got it. I learned it, and it was a happy ending though, right? Happy ending with that. All right, so you've got to be careful about overstretching without support. So again, get that help if you need it. Don't avoid the stretch. If you keep doing what you're doing now, what kind of results can you expect in the future? The same. The old saying is, if you do what you've always done, you get what you always got. Yeah. So if you're happy with the results you're getting, then you can keep on with the same old, same old. You want something different, you have to do something different. Also, watch about stretching sideways. What do you think that means? That means you may think, oh, well, I need to be extroverted like Alex. I need to be able to go make $1 million ask right now. Maybe that's not quite what you need to be doing right now. Maybe you don't need to stretch into the direct ask right now. Maybe you need to stretch into networking first and build up to it. There may be a different way that you need to stretch first. Make sense? We love it. Okay. You got to get outside of your comfort zone. So here's what really goes on in our comfort zone. If you can see this, right in the middle it says A-OK. We all tend to stay in this little spot where we're like, life is good, I'm safe, I know what's going to happen, all is well. We can stretch into the next layer out. What does the next layer out say? This one over on the left. This feels scary. Do you do stuff that scares you? You should do something that scares you every day. It can be a little fear, it could be a big fear, but do something that scares you every day. If it makes you a little nervous, that means you are stretching, and that's a good thing. Okay? Going into something a little scary is okay. If you stretch too far, what does the arrow on the right say? I'm gonna die! This is a little too much. Have you ever done that? Anybody gone to something like, whoa, way too far, I think I'm gonna die from this stretch? How does that feel for you?
Free fall.
It does. It feels like somebody just, like you're on the bridge over the harbor at Auckland in New Zealand, and they just pushed you off with a bungee cord tied around your ankle. It's not fun.
I have a friend who's a coach that says,
Yes, I hear that a lot too. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. When you're uncomfortable, you are moving forward and growing. You know, in life, you're either growing or you're dying. One or the other. Just saying. So, you want to stretch a little bit, get outside your comfort zone, and you can decide what that is. For me, when I was sitting in my chair doing all my fundraising from right there at my desk, that's safe. I figured out how to write grants and do that. I figured out direct mail. I'm like, this is okay. And I'd gone, I think it was an AFP conference, and don't remember who I heard speak, and I came back just with that knowing that I've got to start doing major gift work. I have to. This is what's going to take us to the next level. I also knew that there was a capital campaign coming. We were outgrowing our space so fast, and I thought, you know, if I get ahead of this and I start cultivating people now, then when the powers that be say, we need to do a capital campaign, I'm going to have like all these people cultivated and ready to go. I didn't even really know what that meant, but I knew that was a good thing, you know? Okay, so I'm going to start working on this. How to get out of my comfort zone, how to get some support. Got to do what we need to do. So pick something that stretches you gently outside your comfort zone and do it in the next week. For some of you, that may be, you know what? My organization is a member of the chamber. I'm going to go to a chamber event and I'm going to meet 5 people before I leave. That would be a stretch for some of you. For some of you, you need to think about what's a different stretch. For some of you, picking up the phone and calling one of your donors to say thank you might be a stretch. Or inviting them to lunch, that might be a stretch. So you can go make yourself a list of what seems really scary to me that would really move my fundraising efforts forward. And let me pick one and put it on my calendar and just do it in the next week. Support is a good thing. You do want to have support around yourself. I find that when you embark on personal growth, personal development, I haven't really seen anybody who can do it themselves. Otherwise, you would go get a book at the bookstore and you would read it and you would go do it and it's like done, right? It's kind of like dieting. You like get the dieting books and the DVDs and the whole thing, and then does it work? Not so much, right? That's why there's this whole industry of gyms and personal trainers and stuff. We need support to make significant change in our lives. We just do. We tend to, we get this inertia, we stay right where we are, and we don't do a whole lot else. So, what doesn't work is getting superhero syndrome. I can do this. We do that sometimes. I can do this myself. Sometimes it couples with the shoulding. I should be able to do this myself. Got it. I'm Superwoman. I can do this. I can figure it out. I'm smart. I can do this. Maybe you might need a mentor. You might need somebody who's been there and done that can say, here's the things you want to avoid. Here's some really good things you may want to spend some time on. Seeing outsourcing as an expense, that's also a place that can trip you up. Because you may be doing things that you don't need to be doing. You may be doing things that are below the line that you could easily outsource and spend that little bit of money, and it's going to free you up to go raise a whole bunch more money. And at the end of the day, the ROI is amazing on that. So you may want to outsource some things. Give yourself more time to do what you are good at. Tried it, didn't work. Oh boy, you should just see the organizations that I work with. When somebody goes, well, we tried that and it didn't work, it's like this bearcat comes out of me, and I'm like, there's a few things that I get really, really on my soapbox about. That's one of them. What I find is a lot of people try stuff once and then proclaim it a failure and don't learn anything from it, and then they won't touch it again. Now, sometimes that's a good thing. Like, I remember when I was a little girl in the kitchen, we had the stove on, we were getting ready to cook something, and I turned it on, and my mom said, put your hand over it and see if it's hot. So guess what I did?
Put your hand on it.
Yes, I did. Stuck my hand right on that red hot eye, burned the crap out of me, and she goes, well, you weren't supposed to touch it. And I'm like, you didn't say not to touch it. Put it over it. I'm like, 5, you gotta give me better instructions now. Andy wants to meet her. She's scary.
Then on the flip side of that, you have the organizations who do something and try it and tweak it and try it again, and every year it's a failure, and they're like, I think we should try it one more time. I have fun like that.
And let's give it the benefit of the doubt. That's a problem as well. So that requires a skill of honest evaluation. Being able to look at the things you've done and not make a decision because of how you feel about it, because honestly, we all have our pet projects. We all have our pet events, like we like that event was fun, but we have to have a hard look at the data. Does the data tell us that this was a good investment of our time and money? If it is, we can do it again. If it's not, do something else. So we have to really watch the tried it, that didn't work kind of stuff. We've got to also watch the, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that. She don't understand. I have 5,000 things to do. We make time for the things that are important to us. The end. Everything else is an excuse.
500 emails to answer.
I have 500 emails to answer. Do you have to answer all of them? Here's the thing. I've been trying for like 3 years to get my inbox to 0. It's an illusion. We will never have 0 inbox. If you do, like 5 minutes later, there's more stuff in there. Forget it. It's just not going to happen. So we have to really prioritize. We don't have to answer every email. We have to answer the important ones. And that's our ongoing task, is to discern what's important and needs my time in this moment. What does work is getting help. Some of you may need more volunteers. You may need interns. You may need staff. You may need to outsource. And yes, you can get all of those. I've had great experience with volunteers over the years. A lot of people will say, oh, well, we tried volunteers and that was a disaster. Well, there's usually a reason why. If you get the right people and you set them up for success, you can have some great experience. But you've really got to set them up for success. Anybody ever been on the opposite end of that and had a really bad experience as a volunteer? Gosh, yeah, I sure have. Yeah, it's about setting them up for success. How does this support you when you can get more help in your office? Somebody say, it frees us up to do the stuff we're good at. It does, doesn't it? It frees you up so you have that space to really understand what you're good at and how you can do more of that, being your introverted or extroverted or ambiverted self. How can you do more of it? So, get some help in place in the next 30 days. I promise you it's out there. The last one of these is self-care. Self-care is important. I tend to be one of these, I don't need self-care, I'm Superwoman. I don't need to sleep. Who needs sleep?
Overrated.
It is, it's overrated. There's all these articles coming out now about how sleep is actually the most important thing that you can do for yourself, is get enough sleep at night. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Add a couple of massages in there.
Yeah. Because here's the truth about it. Mandy and I were just laughing about this earlier. When you work long days, hard days, over and over and over and over, what happens to your body?
Get
You-
sick.
You will. You get tired, you get sick, you don't think as well, you're not as sharp, you're going to make mistakes, you got all kinds of really bad stuff that's going to happen, right? And there's no amount of Red Bull that's going to fix that. You know, you need to find a way to replenish yourself and get that rest and take care of yourself. You got to do what works for you. So, you know, Mandy says a massage works for her. I like a good massage too, but for Amanda, that may not be her thing. Your thing may be going for a run or spending time with Wade or something else. You know, for somebody else, it may be something different. So you got to do what works for you. What I find is schedule it. So one of my hobbies is quilting. Is there anybody else in quilts in here? Sweet! Kindred spirits. So I don't know about you, but some time with fabric just heals all kinds of things. And if I'm with a bunch of my quilty friends, now I know some of you are like, really? Quilting is for like 80-year-old women, right?
26.
So I don't know about you, but my quilting friends, they're just a mess. When I'm with them, I usually laugh more and laugh harder than I do with anybody else. Really do. So if I can spend the morning, 5 or 6 of us gathered together, and we're sewing and being productive, I'm creative, and we're laughing at each other, just those big belly laughs are very cleansing. And I'll walk away from there feeling like, oh, this is awesome. But here's the thing. If I don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. right now, I'm in a bad place because there is not a sewing day on my calendar. Now, fortunately, my friend Missy is prodding me going, when are we sewing? When are we getting back together? So we'll get it scheduled, but schedule it. Because if you think, oh, well, I'll get to it. I'll do it next weekend. Next weekend will never come. Because next weekend you'll wind up working all Saturday morning and then running to the Home Depot Saturday afternoon for, whatever, or doing stuff you have to do. Do any of you all have that experience, or is it just me? Yeah, you've got to schedule the fun. Schedule the fun. It's crazy we have to do that, but we do. And then do it. Do it. Don't get to that day before your fun day and go, well, what I really need to do is cut the grass. I really need to paint the bedroom. So I'll just let that fun day go, and then I'll do all this other stuff. Well, what does that do for you?
It makes you mad.
That makes you grumpy. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It takes all your good stuff away, so don't do that. And then be fully present. There's nothing worse than getting a massage and laying on the massage table, thinking about all the things you got to do later that day or the next day or whatever. Be fully present for what you're doing. So just imagine, if you were to take some of this away and go implement, what could be different for you? What if you just took that one nugget of, I really should get more sleep at night? Would things change for you? It doesn't really matter if you're an introvert or not. That would be huge, wouldn't it? If you are an introvert, part of the 30% of the population, and you're thinking, yeah, I think I could stretch a little bit. Maybe I do need to work more above the line than below the line. What could be different for you? Could you bring in more money? Would you have more fun doing it? Probably so. Is that worth the price of admission today? Yeah. I do have something that I can give you. I'll have to email it to you. It's called the Introverts 30-Day Donor Cultivation Calendar. For those of you who are not doing much cultivation, like doing anything to build relationships with your donors, this can be really helpful. I have a sense there's a fair number of you you've got things that are way, way, way beyond that already. But if that's something that you're interested in, let me know, and I'll make sure and email it to you. You can get a hold of that. And if you want to stay connected, I would love for you to do that. All right, so let me hear from you. Who got an aha from this today? Yeah, what's your aha?
Staying above the line.
That above the line thing. I have so many organizations that I work with that has become part of their culture now to talk about working in terms of above the line and below the line. Game changer. What was yours? What's your aha?
The understanding that I am an introvert, that I in the middle, like people who look at me like, what, are you an introvert? Or like, seriously, I am, and they look at me like, so it was really clear what I am.
Yeah.
And I need my quiet, so I can be out there
Yep.
communicating, but I need my space.
High five. That's a good one. Awesome. Anybody else? Have fun? Yeah. Cool. All right, well, I did bring one of my books. Amanda had asked me if I brought any. I have several. I did bring one. This one is actually the very first one that I wrote. It's called Fundraising Buffet. Kind of crazy name. I don't know, food, go figure. It's a collection of 101 tips covering all aspects of fundraising. It's a quick little read. A lot of people who love this book, and I'm going to give it away if that's okay. That'd be okay? Yeah. All right, so here's what we're going to do. If you have a card, just drop it in here. And what I'll do, I'll go ahead and email you that cultivation template. So if you want that, you'll have it. And then we'll give it. Okay. Yeah, we can do that too. Yes,
Can I
Alex.
mention one thing? It's really, honestly, I'm off the chart extrovert, but it's just fun for me. I got a Rolodex
Oh, sorry.
that is for business cards.
Yeah.
And so everywhere I go, of course, I get the business cards and I pack the Rolodex. And the bigger it gets, the better I feel.
Yeah, off the charts extrovert. Yeah. So you're living on like vicarious energy of those cards. Like, oh, this represents all these people, all these connections there.
The other thing I do is I keep a list of all the things I really don't want to do
Yeah.
and the calls I don't want to make. And I wait until something really good happens, and then I know the first thing is don't cheer, go right in, get that list, and start doing them right in.
Okay, now how many other people just like me just went, nope?
Chicken list.
That's fun. While we're doing that, I'll also tell you, I have I think I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a 3-day workshop next week. It's called the Inspired Fundraising Retreat. It's in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, actually at the Sheraton Music City, which is kind of fun. We're going to be talking about how to inspire your donors so that they will give more and give bigger. It's kind of a fun thing. I brought some information. If you're interested, I'd be happy to chat with you about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to be talking about mindset. That's one of the things we're going to talk about.
That's
Very cool.
in person or online?
It is in person. It is come sit with me and about 80 other people in a room and let's learn, have some fun. Mandy's going to be there. We're doing, the first night we're having an elevator speech contest, which is going to be fun. I have a formula for an elevator speech that I teach. It's really fun. Second night we're doing Shark Tank. Oh my gosh. So we were going through the Shark Tank applications yesterday. We're going to give away a $1,000 grant to the winner. We had 19 organizations submit an application. I have it narrowed down to 6. I'm supposed to have 3. I don't know how I'm going to do that because some of them are just like, whoa, that's so good. So that's going to be fun. And so our audience will get to watch these 3 organizations present their project or program, and then we're going to give them some live feedback. We've got a panel of judges that are going to score, and then we're going to give away $1,000 right there on the spot. Cool? It's going to be cool. All right. Just pull a card already, right? I'll kind of set my weight. Okay, got one. All right, who's going to win this? You are? Okay, so if you don't win, the website is getfullyfunded.com. You can find everything there if you don't win. All right, winner is Miss Cindy Rose. Cindy! I love that. Congratulations. I'm going to stick around for a few minutes if you've got questions or just want to chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for hosting me today.
Stick around, chat with Sandy if you can. Next month is donor advised funds with Wilson Sims and a partner of his at Dixon Hughes Goodman. So 3rd Wednesday of November, donor advised funds. October.
You're moving faster than me. Thank you.